MyGhost-Writer presents Whispers of the Timeless Forest, Chapter 1, Elandria's Enigmatic Crevices. Evangeline Fay stood reverently amidst the towering bookshelves in the heart of Elandria's ancient library, where time was held captive within fragile pages and whispers echoed between worn bindings. Light spilled through leaded windows, casting intricate patterns across the stone floor, reminiscent of tapestries woven by celestial hands. The familiar weight of the place settled around her shoulders like an old cloak. As a conservator and light weaver, Evangeline was entrusted with the care of Elandria's past, a custodian of its forgotten narratives. Her fingers delicately traced the spine of a venerable volume, sensing the history woven into its text, the echoes of lives once vividly lived. In this twilight-choked city, where shadows waltzed seamlessly with crumbling walls, her work was one of the few constants. Outside, Elandria's streets lay bathed in a golden hue, the setting sun painting the cobblestones in warmth, even as shadows loomed larger. Beneath the surface of this cultural tapestry lay the unease of a city perched on the brink of chaos. The whispers of enchanted stones carried secrets. The raw magic that once thrummed proudly now lay subdued under the tyrant king's reign, stretching the magical fabric thin. It was on one such fateful evening, as the sun began its descent, that Evangeline's tranquil routine collided with destiny. Alaric stepped into the library like an apparition from the annals themselves. The historian, whose eyes bore the wisdom of ages past, had an air of quiet intensity that drew attention, yet simultaneously sought to evade it. He moved with the confidence of someone who understood the world not just as it was, but as it had been and might yet become. Their meeting was a collision of worlds, Evangeline with her fingers dusted in the past, and Alaric, a beacon of academia, whose gaze saw through time's interwoven veils. "Evangeline Fay," he called, the timbre of his voice pulling her from reverie. She turned, meeting his gaze, and in that instant the world seemed to hold its breath. "Yes, and you must be Alaric, the historian," she replied, aware of how her voice echoed between the stone walls, intertwining with the hushed secrets they held. "Indeed, I've been following threads of history and magic." He paused, casting a wary glance towards the windows as if assessing an invisible threat lurking beyond. "And they all lead here." A soundless understanding passed between them, rooted in the unspoken knowledge of what the tyrant king was doing to Elandria. Their alliance was forged not out of convenience, but necessity, a mutual resolve to unveil the looming shadow and stitch together the city's fractured essence. As the evening deepened, their conversation turned from courtesy to earnest exploration. Each shared their findings, mapping the subtle threads of enchantment stretched under Elandria by the king's manipulations. Every word spoken was a brick laid upon a path neither was certain they were prepared to tread. Meanwhile, just beyond the city's edge in the hidden woods, the healer Lyra tended to her verdant sanctuary. The forest, with its verdant whispers and ancient groans, was woven into her very being. Today the woods felt different, the songs of birds softer, the breeze carrying a plea detectable only to her attuned senses. Her connection to the forest called her towards Elandria, a summons spun from nature's wisdom. In less than a day, paths would cross in ways foreseen by neither mystics nor historians. Evangeline, Alaric, and Lyra would find their fates entwined amidst the tangled roots of time and destiny. The stakes were no longer just individual echoes of survival. They were the very beating heart of Elandria itself. Together, they stood on the precipice of an epic journey, one that could either mend the city's fabric or unravel it entirely, leaving only whispers in the timeless forest to remember what once was. Chapter 2. Moonlit Constellations and Shadows. The night embraced Elandria like a velvet cloak, its deep shadows leaping between the cobblestones, weaving through the narrow alleys, and cloaking the once proud structures now seemed to decay under the weight of tyranny. As the mesmeric twilight unfolded, Evangeline found herself drawn to the border where the city met the secretive embrace of the forest. Her heart pounded a rhythmic warning in her chest, guided by a compulsion she could neither name nor ignore. The knowledge exchanged with Alaric weighed heavily on her mind, a bittersweet amalgam of hope and dread. But tonight, it was the forest, with its promise of sanctuary and secrets, that called to her. The path wound through the trees, their canopies swaying gently under the caress of an ethereal breeze. Here, the weight of Elandria's silent cries softened, hushed by the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a night creature. It was on this moonlit trail that Evangeline first felt the presence, a stirring of air, a suspension of time. Sebastian emerged from the mist like a fragment of the forest itself, a spectral figure with an air of time-worn wisdom etched into his translucent form. His eyes, a shifting hue of silver, met hers with a gentleness that belied the sorrow he carried, an eternal wanderer offering an unspoken alliance. In him, Evangeline sensed a reflection of her own solitude, a spirit adrift amidst temporal tides. "Welcome, Evangeline." His voice was a whisper carried on the night wind, neither loud nor demanding, simply there, a comfortable presence she did not realize she missed. "I've waited long for someone who listens as you do." His words, mysterious yet familiar, washed over her, offering comfort in their ambiguity. "This place," she spoke, gesturing to the forest breathing around them. "It's alive, more than just magic, it has a voice." Sebastian smiled, his form shimmering faintly under the moon's glow. "Indeed, and it remembers, but it also forgets, as do we all." Their dialogue, though sparse, settled over them as a shared confession. Beneath the willow trees arching gracefully, they stood together in silent understanding. Sebastian, aware of the path she was to tread, and Evangeline, conscious of the spectral whispers guiding her toward a revelation yet unseen. Meanwhile, beyond the sanctuary of leaves and whispers, Alaric approached Lyra's dwelling. The healer's abode was as much part of the natural world as it was a refuge of humanity. Starlight threaded through the thickets about her home, mingling with the golden glow spilling from the windows. Their initial meeting was marked by a cautious politeness, each aware of the quiet rhythm binding them in shared purpose. Lyra, with her hands worn by healing yet gentle in their ministrations, sensed the undercurrents of the city's unease mirrored in Alaric's somber demeanor. "You've come seeking something more than balm for wounds," Lyra noted, her voice inflecting softly over the quiet cadence of nocturnal life. Alaric, eyes reflecting the myriad constellations above, nodded. "There's a prophecy, tangled within forgotten lullabies and history itself, speaking of these times. I need your gifts, your understanding of what breathes beneath words and roots alike." Lyra listened intently, her spirit intertwined with the forest's heart, and as they conversed, a delicate bond forged itself in the silence between them. An alliance born of necessity blossomed into something more substantial under nature's aegis, hope stitched delicately amidst burgeoning affection. As the night pressed on, the paths of Evangeline, Sebastian, Alaric, and Lyra converged not in physical presence, but in the shared beats of resolve building in their separate hearts. Elandria's magic spawned these connections, tethering them subtly, preparing them for the formidable trials to come. Within the luminance of moonlit shadows and endless skies, whispers of the forest began to articulate a melody, timeless and haunting, a gentle symphony promising sanctuary, yet hinting at the foreboding still to come. Together, through breathless pauses and twilight murmurs, they embraced their singular fates, each step echoing destiny's resounding call. Chapter 3: Dreams in the Veins of Time. Evangeline awoke with a start in the shadowed silence of her chamber, the remnants of a swirling dream dissolving like mist in the morning sun. The night had given her little solace, its embrace painted with spectral hues and enigmatic whisperings that tugged at her subconscious. Slowly, the dream unraveled in her mind, crumbling castles wrapped in twilight, ancient chants echoing through hollow corridors, and always the lingering presence of Amara, the keeper of dreams, lurking within. Amara's voice had been a tapestry, woven with deceptions and truths, urging Evangeline to unravel the secrets she held hidden even from herself. The riddles drummed in her ears like a haunting melody, neither loud nor soft, neither terrifying nor comforting. It was a call to action, a silent plea to understand that which coursed through her veins, binding her to Elandria in ways she had yet to fathom. "Trust in the timeless," Amara's voice echoed as Evangeline rose, the phrase imbued with an urgency that resonated deep within her core, directing her ever forward. As dawn's light meandered through the slats of the shutters, Evangeline prepared for what she knew would be another day of revelations. The world beyond the sanctity of her room was alive with possibilities, both menacing and promising. Elsewhere in the embrace of the awakening forest, Alaric and Lyra conversed at the edge of morning. Nearby, a brook sang softly, its liquid notes harmonizing with the rustling leaves, a backdrop to their deliberations. "The prophecy is within our grasp," Alaric declared, his eyes alight with fervor. "Yet this knowledge eludes a singular path. We need more than whispers, more than shadows." Lyra nodded, understanding the gravity in his words. The language of the forest was a comfort, a whispering entity that often offered clarity in the muddled realm of human affairs. "The answers lie in the lullabies of old, within those forfeited worlds." "We must venture deeper, Alaric," she resolved, her grip on his hand firm, reassuring. "Evangeline will find clarity through Amara." "There's no one who can read the threads of dreams like she does," Alaric speculated, recalling their shared admiration for the depth with which Evangeline embraced magic's many riddles. Their eyes met, a shared resolve sparking between them, a vow held not in words but in purpose. Together, amidst their growing affection and shared burdens, they felt the pivotal underpinning, the ordained path lying ahead. Hours passed, the sun now stretching upwards, setting its golden tendrils upon Elandria. By dusk, the air would tighten with the rhythm of history, a melody both haunting and hopeful. In the heart of the city, Evangeline found herself moving through the marketplace, drawn not by purpose but instinct. The stalls brimmed with vibrant fabrics and aromatic spices, masking the deeper anguish of the people whose liveliness was dulled by the king's shadowy rule. Evangeline's thoughts cycled back to her dream, and Amara's riddles, floating just beyond clarity. The urge to understand, to see beyond the visible, to touch the very fabric of time intensified. She knew she was racing against the clock, against the enfolding dread that threatened to engulf Elandria if left unchecked. The rhythmic pounding of drums from a distant square pulled her back to the present. Her senses turned, anchoring on the sound as if it were tethering her to the world of the tangible. Sebastian materialized from within the crowd, his aura calming, a presence solid against the gentle chaos of the market. He fell into step beside her, mirroring her pace amidst the throng. For a transient moment, their spirits entwined, speaking in a secretive language of shared intentions. He spoke without turning to her, his voice a soft serenade above the market's hum. "Does the dream trouble you still?" she sighed, the question sinking deep. "It wants to. Amara showed me something I must understand, but I can't find the axis. It's as if time itself evades me." "When the visions come, they're rarely plain until they're past," Sebastian observed, wisdom woven through his words. "But you are close. Clarity approaches, knit through dreams, whispered in starlight." Their conversation meandered through the market, threading between vendors and patrons alike until a quiet resolve stabilized within her. She would not let shadows dictate her path. With Sebastian at her side, the promise of understanding seemed almost tangible. Back in their shared quarters, Alaric and Lyra pored over the ancient texts, their combined knowledge crafted into a latticework of insight and anticipation. Lyra's fingers moved deftly over a faded manuscript, tracing the notations sung to whispers of wood and wind. "This," she remarked, leaning closer to Alaric, sensing the soft heartbeat of a hidden truth within the parchment, "is where our paths converge. Herein lies the song woven into the city's foundations." Alaric fixed his gaze on the glyphs, recognizing the harmonic variants Lyra directed him to. "We sing not just to remember," he mused, realizing the depth of the lyrics, "but to awaken time itself." Their discovery marked the threshold of an era, a realization steeped in destiny's ink, scribbled across the passages of time, teetering on the edge of revelation. As the day's light began its descent into serenity, Evangeline, Sebastian, Alaric, and Lyra felt the approaching aura, a confluence of history and hope. It pinned them to a shared purpose, binding their hearts in a unity against unfolding shadows. Each knew, as evening draped its cloak over Elandria, their roles were cementing in the unfolding tapestry, a symphony composed through time's embrace, the forthcoming crescendo reverberating with enchanted significance, whispering promises within the timeless forest. Chapter 4: Woven Fates and Emergent Truths. The whispers of destiny circled like a gathering storm, each character poised at the brink of revelation. Within the walls of Elandria, time seemed to intertwine, its delicate threads pulling tighter as Evangeline, Alaric, Lyra and Sebastian navigated the labyrinth of mysteries, binding them to the city's fate. Evangeline found herself amidst the silent rows of books in the enchanted library once more, her sanctuary yet also her burden. The tomes whispered secrets merely grazed by the light, hinting at a lineage that left shadows in her bones. Her fingers traced along the edges of age-old pages, her heart wary of the truths lurking within their depths. Every tome held a universe of stories, bound not only by ink and paper but by magic and memory. One volume, aged and cracked with time, seemed to call to her. With a deep breath, she pulled it from its resting place. As the cover creaked open, the room was bathed in an eerie luminescence, casting vibrant hues of blue and green across the stone walls, a shimmering echo of her own powers. It was a genealogy of light weavers, chronicling her ancestors and the tangled web of decisions that had shaped her path. Her eyes skimmed the familiar names, finally resting on an entry bolded by some invisible hand as if it sensed her approach. Her lineage extended to the architects of Elandria themselves, a history deeply entwined with the city's enchantments. Quiet ripples of realization settled over her. The power she wielded did not just arise from talent, but was a legacy, hidden and enduring. Her connection to the city was more profound than she had imagined. Timeless whispers echoed in her mind, unraveling in a mournful symphony of duty and heritage. Duty weighed heavily now, entwined with hope and fear alike. As the sky blushed with the approaching dusk, Evangeline's thoughts turned to destiny's embrace waiting beyond the door. Her role was more than a guardian of history. She was a bridge between past and present, drawn inexorably toward the heart of Elandria's salvation. Meanwhile, Alaric and Lyra stood before the imposing entrance of the king's palace, its shadow casting an oppressive gloom against the fading sunlight. The stones radiated a cold aura, the air shimmering with an anticipation that each could feel resonating within their bones. "Are you certain we'll find what we seek here?" Lyra asked, her voice steady despite the echo of unease threading between them. Alaric adjusted the satchel slung across his shoulder, his resolve solidifying like the stone beneath their feet. "Here lies the soul of Elandria's unraveling. The king's manipulation of magical pathways runs deepest within these walls. We must decipher them." Their hearts synchronized in a silent vow as they stepped over the threshold, immediately engulfed by the palace's intricate latticework of enchantments. Inside, the corridors stretched like veins through the fabric of Elandria's magical lifeblood. They moved with purpose, fading into the shadows, guided by the faint pulse of a prophecy waiting to be fully revealed. Alaric listened to the walls, his historian's mind intertwining with the beat of the ages. Lyra sensed the undercurrents of earth magic shimmering below, her fingers tingling with each new vibration. Together, they descended deeper into the palace, drawn to a pocket of potent energy. Here the prophecy hummed, a suppressed chant carving its presence into the stone and air. The further they progressed, the more the lyrics of lullabies forgotten played against the walls. They arrived at an atrium where light refracted through crystal panels embedded in the ceiling, projecting a tableau of colors that danced like living memories. Alaric moved toward an inscription etched into the floor, its words curling gracefully across the marble. "These are the echoing fragments of the lullabies," he whispered to Lyra, his eyes wide with emergent understanding. "This secret has been hidden in plain sight. The lullabies, prophecies carved in song, sustain the enchantments binding the city." Lyra knelt beside him, reaching out to trace the intricate patterns. Each touch vibrated through her, a gentle reminder of the world their hearts worked unwearyingly to preserve. With this knowledge, we can turn the magic back on itself, reveal its essence, and destabilize the king's grip. Within her words lay an urgency, an understanding that destiny demanded their swift response. They had the key, and fate's tapestry unwound, allowing glimpses of what was to come, an alignment of Elandria's heart with its protectors. As evening approached, Evangeline, with Sebastian at her side, felt a powerful tether form in her chest, a passage to the past, through which her ancestors whispered encouragement as palpable as the magic surrounding them. She felt the arcane tendrils of her duty unfurl like dawn upon new truths, solidifying her resolve. The moon rose high above Elandria, setting the stage for the imminent convergence of efforts, of love and light against the clasping shadows of unwielded power. Within this luminous night, each of the city's guardians, motivated by courage and buoyed by burgeoning trust, stood prepared to be stitched into history's final, perilous weave. Whether destined by choice or chance, the time had come for Evangeline, Alaric, Lyra, and Sebastian. Their paths, forged in starlight and whisper, now faced the dawning rhythm of awakening truth, the echo of unity undulating through the mystical fabric they dared to unravel, a new hope surging beneath Elandria's enchanted soil. Chapter 5, Unraveling the Lattice of Power. Elandria quivered on the cusp of transformation, the atmosphere heavy with an unspoken anticipation. The city, a crumbling relic of its own grandeur, stood poised before an unfathomable chasm where ancient enchantments twisted under the weight of the tyrant king's machinations. Within these breaths of time, the destinies of Evangeline, Alaric, Lyra, and Sebastian aligned like the moon's path over the forest canopy, a celestial choreography dictated by the whispers of the world itself. In the dim light of an evening that hummed with both dread and promise, Evangeline and Sebastian stood side by side, the enchanted library looming behind them like a sentinel. The genealogy she discovered pulsed with an unfamiliar warmth, awakening a lineage she did not yet fully understand, but felt deeply tethered to. This knowledge propelled her into the heart of Elandria's turmoil, ready to wield her powers to their fullest extent. "Are you prepared?" Sebastian's spectral voice was steady, providing a calm she could anchor to amidst the swirling uncertainty. She nodded, a mixture of fear and resolve etched upon her face. "I am. Whatever truth these dreams have whispered, they lead us to this moment. It's a history we must now decide." Together they moved through Elandria's labyrinthine streets, guided by the luminescence Evangeline conjured, a beacon drawing strength from her ancestors' light. Shadows twisted away from them, receding into the dark corners of the city where they belonged. In the heart of Elandria's palace, Alaric and Lyra were on the brink of revelation. They traced the intricate patterns cast by the crystals in the atrium, their minds harmonized in the symphony of the prophecy unveiled before them. Each rune spoke of forgotten magic, a lullaby echoing through time that only now found its full resonance. Finding the source of the enchantments that the king perverted was no small task, but their union, intellect and intuition, served as a guiding compass in the depths of uncertainty. Amidst hushed breaths and concentrated focus, Alaric meticulously deciphered the engravings with Lyra at his side, her energy a grounding force to his scholarly pursuits. "This is it, Lyra." Alaric's voice trembled slightly, laced with awe. "The heart of Elandria's enchantment lies here. If we succeed, we'll start the unraveling of every dark thread the king has sown." Lyra placed her hand on Alaric's, the warmth shared between them an unspoken vow. "With love, Alaric. Let our bond be the force that renews the enchantment, a song for Elandria's rebirth." As their connection deepened, a tremor rippled through the air. The ground seemed to hum with anticipation, responding to their presence and purpose. The past, present, and possible futures intersected at this singular point, gathering their stories like threads in an intricate tapestry, waiting for the storytellers to bind them together into hope's enduring fabric. Outside, Evangeline and Sebastian approached the palace, tracing the magic woven through the walls in patterns only light weavers could perceive. Their shared journey, crossing boundaries of time and spirit, prepared them for this fateful confrontation. "The palace itself sings with power," Sebastian observed, his ethereal presence brushing against Evangeline's senses. "We must stitch our way through the shadow to reveal its heart." Evangeline nodded, drawing the light around her as an armor not only of defense but one of revelation, illuminating the path through darkness. Together they entered the palace, their footsteps a counter-rhythm to the silent cries of history yearning for release. Within, Alaric and Lyra stood as the nucleus of enchanted change, a force palpable even to those who did not yet understand what lay beneath the veneer of malign power. The convergence of their alliances became a symphonic force, igniting the atmosphere with potential. The walls trembled under the weight of truth bearing down upon them. This was not just the unraveling of the king's manipulations, but the weaving of a new tale, a rebirth etched onto the scrolls of time. The four of them, bound by purpose and a profound intertwining of lives, uncurtained the latticework of spells that shackled Elandria. In that moment, as light and shadow clashed above them in a cacophony of liberation, the tyrant king's dark plots dissolved like sand against a rising tide. Every enchanted corner of the city breathed anew, releasing burden after burden, the melody of reclaimed freedom resonating through cobblestones and sky alike. As the dust settled and silence returned, broken only by the distant song of the forest, Evangeline, Sebastian, Alaric, and Lyra stood together in the dawning of a new reality. Their paths no longer shadowed in secrecy but illuminated by shared courage and unity. They knew the journey was not merely about ending a reign of darkness, but rewriting a legacy far greater than any one individual. Elandria whispered its thanks to these stewards of fate, etching their names into the annals of eternity, voices mingling in the timeless symphony that would guide future generations to come. Let the starlight inscribe their victory above, a testament to love, light, and the power of enduring hope. Chapter 6. Love and Light Against an Unshackled Night. The moon cast its silvery gaze over the recovering city of Elandria, unveiling shadows that once concealed despair. Tonight, however, under this ancient tapestry of stars, the echoes of a different kind of power resonated, a gentle but insistent hum emanating from the reunified magical fabric of the city. Within the heart of Elandria's palace, Evangeline stood amidst the aftermath of their triumph, her senses attuned to the intricate tapestry of light woven into the very stones around her. Her lineage, a fragile yet compelling reminder of duty, danced through her as she drew upon her abilities. The library's whispers, now clearer than ever, surged within her, a symphony of memories and newfound possibilities. Beside her, Sebastian's spectral presence shimmered with ethereal tranquility, a guardian of this transformative moment. The connection they had forged transcended time, a testament to loyalty beyond corporeal confines. He watched as Evangeline gathered her courage, knowing the next step was but a dance between destiny and choice. "Evangeline," he spoke softly, his voice a gentle caress amidst the high-ceilinged expanse of magic and memory. "What you've achieved here, the light you've shared, it's the bridge that Elandria needed." Evangeline nodded, her resolve firmed by the shared victories and the sacrifices encapsulated within. "Together, we opened a path to renewal. Now it's a story for all of us to continue writing." Meanwhile, Alaric and Lyra marveled at the transformation unfolding around them. Their hearts, once gripped by the shadow of uncertainty, now beat with an empowered rhythm, one that pulsed in harmony with the reborn city. Alaric's eyes, weary yet bright, met Lyra's as they took solace in the love kindled amidst chaos. "Elandria's roots run deep, older than we knew," Alaric mused, his voice echoing wonderment against the stone-laden halls. "It took us, together, to reveal its enduring song." Lyra reached for his hand, weaving her fingers with his in silent affirmation. "And now it's the song of a future that we shape, one harmonized with nature's breath and human heart." As they stood entwined in that moment of peace, a quiet understanding dawned between them. Through trials and revelations, they had constructed a foundation not only for Elandria's future but for their own, a promise etched by love's resilience amidst tempestuous shadows. In this shared epiphany, they joined Evangeline and Sebastian, a quartet bound by a tapestry of life and intent. As the moonlight filtered through intricate patterns of crystal above, a kaleidoscope of colors painted their faces, reflections of light and history woven seamlessly together. The city breathed anew, its arteries humming with the recalibration of magic entrusted back into the hands of those who understood its worth. Citizens emerged, greeted by a dawn unmarred by the tyrant's shadow, a world rekindled under stars that bore witness to its reclamation. Evangeline lifted her eyes to the heavens, feeling the pulse of Elandria's rebirth within her chest. The tangled threads of her lineage she once feared had instead become threads of strength that now connected her to everything she had claimed as home. "This," she spoke, her voice firm, "is our legacy, a testament to what love and light can achieve when unleashed against darkness." Hands intertwined, the four of them stood in solidarity at the city's heart, a promise to nurture the fragile beginnings of a new era. Together they formed a shield against future adversities, determined to embrace the unknown with the same courage and unity that had carried them this far. Beneath the celestial tapestry, Elandria's inhabitants gathered in the square, joined in spirit and purpose. The melody of a joyful future played softly in their hearts as whispers of the timeless forest wove through the crowd, an age-old bond reawakened. The dawn unfurled gently, a painted promise stretching across the horizon. It was a new day, a blank canvas awaiting the tales of those who would continue to walk its storied paths, guided by the light cast by Evangeline, Alaric, Lyra, and Sebastian. Thus, the history of Elandria etched itself anew, whispered in the quiet grace of the eternal forest, a testimony to love's resounding strength and the binding magic of human connection, inscribed eternally in starlight. Thank you for listening to my Ghostwriter.